would ask you that, doesn't our policy, if it follows President Trump's maximum pressure, like in Cuba, drive some of these countries into the arms of China, as opposed to our wanting to do more foreign aid or more investment or a more cooperative approach, work better to compete with China than to just cut things off and push them in that direction?
Well, I'm not a China expert, but we do deal with China a lot, compete with China a lot around the world. I would say our competitive advantage, as mentioned by my colleague Michael, is that what we do around the world with our partners is transparent and above board and doesn't involve predatory lending practices. And so as we deal with our partners around the world and expose them to what we're offering and how we're offering it by partnering with them, as opposed to China, we think that we have a better product to sell.
I think so too, but if you can't just look at this from an economic standpoint, there's a lot of politics involved in this, and depending on the administration, depends on how much you are actually engaged in the process that you describe. But okay, I appreciate that. Earlier in the hearing, my Republican colleague from Florida once again got on his rant and attacking the LGBTQ community. This is nothing new. The Republicans have been trying to marginalize this community for every turn this Congress, yet we're the beacon for human rights here in the United States, and we ought to push for that. Our foreign policy should reflect that, should reflect respect for other communities, protect human rights around the world. Mr. Kamilari, would you address why you think it might be a better way to do policy to include all these communities? There was a little chance to discuss it earlier, but I don't think it came out very strongly.
Yeah, I think these things are actually linked, which is to say part of our competitive advantage over countries like the PRC is precisely that we bring American values to bear on the way that we operate. And fundamental to those American values is a belief in democracy and a belief in fundamental human rights. And of course, LGBTQ plus rights are human rights.
Well, we've seen democracy backsliding in a lot of parts of the world, a lot of legislation being passed that attacks this community kind of in particular. How does the State Department try to counter that or deal with those kind of policies in countries where we want to have better relations?
I think the question may have been for the State Department, so I'll let the Assistant Secretary weigh in if he likes to. But from the USAID standpoint, we are in many places supporting advocates to engage their governments on behalf of equality and dignity for all populations, as well as using our own kind of diplomatic relationships to advocate directly for, again, respect for universal human rights.
You know, I serve on the House Democracy Partnership. Guatemala is one of the countries that we have a partnership with. Peru, we're working on. And so I've seen y'all's work in supporting some NGOs, supporting the drafting of some legislation. Could you address that? Is that not a way to also deal with this in a more specific kind of answer?
Yeah, that's precisely, thank you, Congresswoman, that's precisely the kind of work that in some places we're able to partner with civil society to do, which is to engage, for example, with their legislatures or with their court systems. And we've seen some encouraging decisions from courts in the region that are more protective of fundamental equality. And so where we're able to, we can partner with NGOs, with civil society organizations, in some cases directly with governments that are committed to expanding protections for the LGBT community, which in many parts of Latin America and the Caribbean, unfortunately, is subject not just to discrimination, but significant violence in order to provide those protections.
I would